Hey everybody, your Friendly Math Tutor here. Welcome to our 8-video strategy-based SAT mini course. What we're going to do is each Monday and Thursday we are going to release a new video for the next 4 weeks leading up to the next SAT. Each lesson is going to dissect a different strategy that you can apply to the upcoming SAT. Some strategies are great for some problems and they're terrible for others. So what it's going to be important is for you to kind of gain experience, learn the strategies. I'll explain which ones can apply to which type of problems, and some of you may like certain ones in certain situations and others in other situations. So please just pay attention to all 8 strategies that we learn and apply them in your own way when you actually take the SAT. All right, and it's important to always know multiple ways to do these problems so that when you're taking the SAT, you can sit there and decide whether you want to do one strategy versus the other. You cannot just listen to today's strategy and be like, oh, I'm going to just do this for every single problem. It's just not going to work that way. All right, another important thing to understand is that I will be explaining each problem and I will be going over what I call the school way, and then another way called your Friendly Math Tutor way. Now, all these strategies are not things that I made up. They are just common knowledge and a lot of different people have thought of these, but I'm just calling it that way because that way, the Your Friendly Math Tutor way, will be kind of the strategy way, and the school way will be the actual way that you would have done it and been taught in school. So more of like a procedural way to do the problem. But a lot of these problems take a lot more thinking than it does sometimes in school. And the other thing is, in school, you always have to do the entire problem and circle your answer and make sure that the teacher can understand everything. But on the SAT, it's multiple choice, most of it. And what you're going to be doing is just simply doing enough work to get the answer. It's a time test, so you don't want to be spending all this time doing each step because there's going to be no one grading your work. They're either going to look at the bubble sheet and the computer is just going to decide whether you're right or wrong, or the grid-ins are just going to decide whether you're right or wrong. So your work is not as important to show to someone else. It's all for yourself, all right? Also, I want to just clarify, I am not saying that the school way is a bad way. It's just sometimes the school way takes longer and the strategies that I'm going to show you could be quicker. But it's also going to be a theme throughout the course. I will always do a problem each class that kind of shows you that the school way could even be better. So it's going to be important as you go through the course to know, all right, I read this problem, here's this strategy. Do I use the school way or do I do it using this like strategy? And knowing both is extremely important because sometimes the school way is quicker. And if you just ignore the school way and go all these little strategies and think you're going to just shortcut and game the SAT, it doesn't really work like that. All right, so let's get started with today's lesson, which is plug in your answer choices. All right, so we look at the first problem. So each time we're going to do an opener problem. So I will have this here for every problem. I get all these problems from College Board website. They have the 8 practice tests that they've released. And I think it'll just be easy. I don't want you to go buy anything for this course. I just want you to watch and learn. And these problems and these 8 practice tests are on the College Board website. So they are really easy to find. I can link down below so you can access all of those. So this one is from College Board Practice Test 2, Section 3, number 2. So this says x plus y equals 0, 3x minus 2y equals 10. Which of the following ordered pairs satisfies the system of equations above? So we start by looking at the school way. So in school, what you would have learned is about the elimination method here would have probably been the best way to attack this problem. So we look at the first equation and the second equation, and it looks like the y's are going to be the easiest variable to eliminate. So we're going to multiply the first equation by 2, and we're going to get 2x plus 2y equals 0. And the second equation we're going to leave alone. and then we are simply just going to add these equations together. So 2x plus 3x is 5x, 2y and negative 2y, they eliminate, and 10 plus 0 is 10, divide by 5, so x equals 2. So that gives us x equals 2, so even more of a school way would have been now for you to plug into one of your original equations and then find the y value, give the answer as a coordinate pair, circle your answer, right? You have to do all this in school, but not here. Even if you choose the school way for this problem, you really don't need to go past this, because if you look at your answers, only B has x equal to 2. So even if you choose the school way, there are still these little shortcuts. That's really not even part of today's strategy. It's something you should always look for. Again, you do just enough work to get the answer, and then B is the only answer choice. All right, so then your friendly math tutor way would be simply to, instead of actually solving this, you can just look at this. You have this simple equation, x plus y equals 0, and we are going to plug in our answer choices. But since this equation is so easy, the only way for two numbers to add up to 0 is if they are opposites of each other. And that only happens in C and B. So A and D are out right away without doing any work. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pick either C or B. Let's say B, and we're going to plug it into the second equation. So the only actual work we're going to do is 3 times 2 minus 2 times negative 2 equals 10. And we're simply going to get 6 minus a negative is plus 4 equals 10. And that is it. That is our answer. Now, what if that wasn't the answer? You might be thinking, oh, well, now we got to plug in C. Well, we don't. If that one is wrong, then C must be right. So again, we're trying to do the least amount of work possible to get the answer. That is not being lazy. That is called being efficient. All right, now on to the second problem. Second problem is from College Board Practice Test 4, Section 3, number 9. It is radical x minus a equals x minus 4. If a equals 2, what is the solution set of the equation above? So we've got radical x minus, I can substitute a equal to 2 equals x minus 4. So if we take a look at, we substitute in, if we take a look at the school way, what we would have to do is we would need to square both sides. All right. If I square the left side, since I have a radical, and it's being squared, they basically just cancel each other out, and I get x minus 2. Now, be very careful. A lot of you might want to do x squared plus 16, but x minus 4 squared is actually x minus 4 times x minus 4. And if you multiply all those combinations out, you get x squared minus 4x minus 4x is minus 8x, and then finally plus 16. All right? And then what we need to do is we have a quadratic. When you have a quadratic, you want it to equal 0. So we move the x and the negative 2 to the other side. So we end up with 0 equals x squared minus 9x plus 18. Now we factor. So we're looking for two numbers that add up to 18, and two numbers that multiply to 18 and add up to negative 9. That gives us negative 6 and negative 3. So therefore, our two solutions are x equals 6, x equals 3. So I go and I look at A and I pick that answer, and guess what? I'm wrong. Because there's this added bonus of this type of problem that your teacher probably tells you about all the time when you solve radical equations. You have to look for extraneous solutions. So guess what? You've got to plug these numbers in anyway. And what happens is when you plug in 6, it works, but when you plug in 3, it does not work. So it ends up getting you D. I'm skipping through that pretty quickly because in our method, we're just going to plug in the answers anyway. All right? So in your Friendly Math Tutor way, the way that we would do it here is we would just go right for plugging in the answer choices because it's like we know that we're going to have to solve this problem if we were doing it the school way, we would have to solve it out and then check our answers anyway because we understand that when you do a radical equation, you have to check for extraneous solutions. So what this means is why not just start by checking the solutions and save a whole bunch of time. So we have radical x minus 2 equals x minus 4. And what I would do is just take a quick look at the answer choices and notice that this has 3 and 6. This has 3, and this has 6, and this is just randomly a 2. That makes me probably think that 2 is just thrown in there. But so I wouldn't start with that. But, it could be the answer. But I would kind of just lean away from that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just plug in 3 and 6, and I'm going to see what happens. So a quick plug-in of 3 gives me square root of 3 minus 2 equals 3 minus 4. And I can stop there because this is the square root of 1. And this is negative 1, and those two things are certainly not equal. So now I know that any answer with 3 in it is wrong. So A and C, get out of here. So now we're at B and D. So let's just plug in 6, see what happens. So 6 minus 2, 6 minus 4, square root of 6 minus 2, square root of 4 is 2, 6 minus 4 is 2, and boom. We got our answer. So the answer must be 6. And if 6 didn't work, then I would have known that the answer was B. And that's it. All right, now our third problem. This one is from College Board Practice Test 1, Section 4, number 11. Which of the following numbers is not a solution of the inequality 3x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 4x minus 3? So let's take a look at the school way. So what we would do is we have our inequality, 3x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 4x minus 3. You simply just want to solve this for x. So you want to bring the x's to one side and the constants to the other. So I could do that by simply subtracting 3x. We could also move the 4x, but I'm just going to subtract the 3x just to keep this positive. And at the same time, if I'm bringing my x's to the right side, I would like to bring my constants to the left side. So either way, there's really no way to avoid the negatives in this problem, but I can add 3 to both sides. So I end up with 3x's, negative 3x goes away. I get negative 2 is greater than or equal to, this is x, and these 3's go away. And this is kind of out of order, but I would switch it, so this is really x is less than or equal to negative 2. So then it says, which of the following is not a solution? So I'm looking for the answer that is not less than or equal to negative 2. And the only one that fits that category is A. All right? So that is the school way to do it. And then the Your Friendly Math Tutor way will be, again, our theme today is to plug in our answer choices. So what we're going to do is we're going to literally just plug in our answer choices. So we will check A, and we will get 3, and we'll replace x with negative 1 minus 5 is greater than or equal to 4 times negative 1 minus 3. And we evaluate the left side, and that's negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8, is greater than or equal to negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. Negative 8 is greater than or equal to negative 7. I don't think so. So that answer is wrong, which for us, that's great because it said which of the numbers is not a solution. So that one must be our solution. So just to kind of recap, the plug-in answers, Your Friendly Math Tutor way was quicker, but it was only quicker because A happened to work, all right? There was nothing by looking at the answers that made me pick A first, except When I want to know what's not a solution, I kind of got a hunch that it's either the largest number there or the smallest number there. I would have checked those first. But there's really, we just don't know. So we kind of got lucky. It was fast only because we got lucky. Imagine we had to check 3 of the answers before we finally got the answer. This could take some time. So this is our example today of a problem that I probably think the school way is quicker. So again, it's about looking at the problem and being like, okay, the school way would be to rearrange for X. Your Friendly Math Tutor way is to plug in my answer choices. And in this case, I believe that the school way kind of wins out. Even though your Friendly Math Tutor way was pretty quick here, but we kind of got lucky. If we scrambled these answer choices and we plugged in a couple other answers first, it would have taken a while. All right. But again, the whole point of this is not to tell you that, oh, you should always do it this way or always do it that way, is that you should just be armed with the information of knowing how to do it multiple ways and making that decision when you're taking the test on which way that you feel is the best way to attack that problem. That will ultimately lead to the highest score that you can possibly get. All right, moving on. All right, so now to our closer problem. We're going to end each episode with a problem. I will read it right now, and then you will try it at home. And the next episode, episode 2, I will go over this to start that episode. All right, so this one is College Board Practice Test 5, Section 4, number 13. It is y is less than or equal to 3x plus 1, and x minus y is greater than 1. And the question is, which of the following ordered pairs xy satisfies a system of inequalities above? There are, as always, 4 answer choices, and it is A, -2, -1, B, -1, 3, C, 1, 5, or D, 2, -1. And so that will end this portion of our questions. We will go over this at the beginning of the next episode. All right. All right, today's takeaways. So the first thing is, our topic for today was to plug in your answers. All right. These work great when you know the school way could be a bit long. All right. Also, it's really good for if, let's say, you forget the school way, right? There's a lot of formulas that you learn all throughout Algebra 1 and Geometry and Algebra 2, and you may have just forgotten, like I haven't done this problem in 2 years, and you may have just forgotten to do that problem. This is kind of like your bailout for that. Even if it would have been quicker to know that way, when you're sitting there on the actual test, you can't go back in time, right? You just are where you are, and it's good to know, well, I've got this in my back pocket. If I need to just plug in the answer choices, I can. All right, so it's great in that case too. I'm not promoting that you should just forget all these other ways, but if it happens, you have this as a method. I think specifically it works for systems of equations, radicals, rational equations, and inequalities. I feel like anything that could take many steps, plugging in is just going to be the way to go. I think it's not great for just linear equations. Anytime the school way is just quick. If you can just do that in 1 or 2 steps, you might as well just knock that out rather than plugging in all your answer choices. It can be time consuming. Also remember, you never have to plug in more than 3 answer choices. If you're going to do this method, I would also try to eliminate some answers that may not make any sense right from the beginning, but if you can't, there's no reason to ever plug in all 4. If you plug in 3 and they don't work, then the 4th one has got to be the answer. All right. I'm assuming we're all plugging in correctly. And the last thing is, it's important to know the school way. Again, to reiterate, this is not a replacement for all these mathematical concepts. They are extremely important, and it's extremely important to know the school way. And it's extremely important that your teachers teach it to you that way, and that you do it that way when you're in school. But here we are on a test. Like, we don't need to do the entire school way sometimes, but there are other times, as we can see, that it does work and it does pay off. So those of you that are taking today's strategy, understand the school way, sit down, you read a problem, and you say, oh, I know the school way, but that's way too long. You don't know that the school way is too long if you don't even know how to do the school way. So the key is know the school way, know that it's too long, and make that choice. Make that choice that, oh no, I'm going to do it this quick way by plugging in answer choices. All right? That is it. Please, please, please like us below. Leave comments. Share this with your friends. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And until next time, your friendly math tutor is out. Okay. Cut. Scratch that. Start over.